So let's head over to our man in Geneva. Richie, good morning to you. How you doing?
Hey, Jerry, you well?
Yeah, Geneva's, in a very nice part of the world. Very expensive.
It is, but I found a decent way to get around it, which is be a tourist. Because if you're a tourist, you get around this place for free, which is absolutely class. There's a little machine inside Geneva Airport, just in the door on the way out, that says free ticket that's available for travel for the first 80 minutes that you have it or whatever. So I just got a bus and a tram back to the hotel, so that was free. You get a free travel pass if you're staying in a hotel. So I'm getting around for nothing, which is a boon.
Very good. How was Minsk? How was Tbilisi?
Minsk. A bit mad, if I'm being honest. Kind of glad to get out of it, and glad to get out of it alive. When you see the gun shops on the way in, as I mentioned, Adrian, on Friday night, the drivers, the way they get around town, which is insane. Cormac in the booth on Newstop Breakfast earlier on was saying, is it as bad as Italy? And I was like, I think it's worse, because the roads are, you might have these like 8 and 10 lane wide highways that are a bit harem-scarum in terms of how people dip in and out of them. So it's a bit mad. It's kind of nice to be somewhere a little bit more restrained and knows what it is in Geneva.
What was the general consensus from the Irish fans after the game the other night? Because for me, it was one of the worst performances that I can remember. Kenny says that he sees at least some signs that the team is hunting in packs and that there's a strategy behind the way the team are defending as a group, and that is different somewhat to the O'Neill era. Mind you, it doesn't sound that different from the Trapattoni era. No. But I thought that performance was as bad as anything that Trapp and Martin O'Neill were getting hammered for relentlessly during their periods in charge.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty negative in its outlook. James Collins, to be fair, I think it would have been hard his performance, because he was so off the pace and he was so isolated up front, and there was no support for him. The midfield offered nothing. I mean, they were asking before the game that Ireland dictate the pace of the play, that they take the sting out of the ball, and that they use that to be, how they get hold of possession and how they get hold of the Georgians. But that just didn't work. They did it for about 5 minutes at the start of the second half, and then the Georgians threw a fork in the toaster again, and Ireland looked lost in how to use the ball and how to build an attack. And as you mentioned, the amount of times that Harron and McLean gave the ball away, and they weren't alone in that failing, was stark, and that kind of thing will cost us big time tomorrow night. Yeah,
look, everybody was calling for Jack Byrne to get on, but clearly Mick doesn't view him as a realistic option at this point, which is a pity. That's his decision. They see him in training, they don't think that he's up to it yet, when actually, did we have anything to lose for the last half an hour to have him and Connolly on the pitch, just to see what the difference was? If he'd been in instead of Hendrick, if he'd been in instead of Robinson, if he'd been in anywhere in that front line to get the ball and pass the ball to an Irish player and keep it for 5-6 passes and just see what happens.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, it's Mick's not viewing this game, or he wasn't viewing Saturday certainly, and I don't think now, given the point that we've won in Georgia, he's viewing tomorrow night as an all or nothing game. Nothing can be decided from a Swiss or Danish perspective tomorrow night, but we can still qualify. We can still qualify on against the Danes at home. Like there's still 2 games left for Ireland to do this, and I think that's how Mick is viewing it. It's a somewhat sensible approach, but again, as you say, it's very much a kind of overly cautious one. We could get this done with a game to spare, which would be brilliant.
We're not going to, though. I mean, it's a horrifically negative way and conservative way of looking at things, particularly when you look at the games that everybody else has left in the group. Like, our best hope now is that Denmark have nothing to play for when they get to Dublin and are like, look, sure, we're already qualified. What difference does it make to us?
Yeah, I still think that, Mick has this kind of raggy dolls approach to players, and that he likes a story, he likes a journey, he likes a tale of endurance. The James Collins kind of fits into that narrative. But there is no harm, I don't think, in going for it tomorrow night. The Swiss are prone to losing late goals. That's something that's going to be in the back of McCarthy's mind. I mean, they shipped 3 late ones to the Danes, of course, in that qualifier earlier on in the group. They shipped a late goal to Denmark the other night. They've shipped late goals to Portugal in the Nations League. They're prone to going asleep towards the end. So Mick might want to play a little bit of rope-a-dope and hope that we're still in the game and hope that it's still scoreless come the last 10 minutes, and then show his hand and then throw on Connolly. I mean, I'd love to see Connolly starting from the start. That would be brilliant, because I think he'd test that Swiss defence. I was watching the Denmark-Switzerland game the other night, and I really think that Connolly could have the better of them. I think within his 10-minute cameo, he showed enough that he can actually put it to a top-quality defence. And let's be honest, like, McCarthy beforehand was talking about how, he wants players playing regular Premier League football and scoring goals at Premier League level. Like,
You have one.
Yeah, we have one. And is a James Collins or a Scott Hogan in playing for Stoke or Luton any better than Aaron Connolly playing under 23s? The answer is no.
Clearly not.
It's simple. It's clearly not. Yeah, and that's why, from my perspective, I'd have absolutely no qualms in starting them. But I'd probably go along with Kenny to a degree as well. I wouldn't mind seeing Connolly start and have someone like Callum Robinson in support. I think that would work quite well.
The whole point, though, is if he starts him now, it makes the decision not to start him against Georgia look dumb. And I think it was a dumb decision. But
it makes the decision not to pick him in the squad look dumb.
Well, it absolutely it layers on that levels. But if you think that he's improved from the 10-minute cameo on the Saturday to start on the Tuesday, when the game on Saturday was the winnable game, that was the one that if we'd won that game, we'd now effectively be saying, we're going to stick our entire team behind the ball and you're going to have to try and beat us because we're going to be absolutely thrilled with the scratchy 0-0, and actually it's going to be even better for us because we've got this kid, he's really good. You're going to have to keep three defenders back at him because he's strong enough to be able to do it. I just think that it doesn't make any sense to start him in the game now when it made loads of sense to start him and give him that 90 minutes, give him the full game, take him off for 80 minutes, whatever, but get him the start, get that out of his system. We're going to have to wait and see exactly whether or not he picks him, but certainly the noises coming from the paper seems to suggest that someone has been briefed along the way that he's going to start.
I think he will start. I think what the 10 minutes showed, apart from the fact that he's a better player than James Collins, is that he won't be overawed by occasion. There's not a sense that you stick him out there. And I spoke to him after the game and he's still clutching his jersey and this means a hell of a lot to him, and playing international football is a big, big, big deal to a 19-year-old player. But he's good enough. I think he's mature enough as a player, and I think he's of better quality than anything we have in our striking options at the moment. So it behooves us to start him.
We've played 6 games in the qualifying group so far, so there's obviously 2 left.
6 goals, Ger.
I was about to say, we've scored 6 goals, and we've played Gibraltar twice.
Yeah. I mean, that's the statistic that jumps out looking at that group. I mean, everybody else has made hay while the sun shone in Gibraltar, and we didn't, both home and away. We made heavy weather of a lot of games that really should be easy. And now that we have, McCarthy's had a pair of keys to a Rolls Royce landing in his lap. It's whether he chooses to turn the ignition now is another story. And I think he should. And if you're saying that, some people have been briefed that he will start, I think it's good news. I think the Swiss will be on the back foot by that a little bit, because to them he'll be something of an unknown quantity, I guess, although maybe League One and Championship strikers might be as well. But I think he'll be something of an unknown quality. He'll be something that they haven't faced from us before. They are on the back foot given the result, the nature of the result the other night. They're being told, they've had people in their ear. Jan Sommer, the keeper, has been told by Peter Schmeichel that Ireland aren't very good, some of the worst footballers he's seen, etc., etc., etc. And there is an element of truth to that based on the Georgia performance. But there is a chance that we can actually put a decent footing forward tomorrow night and go after this side, because we're in Geneva. It's not St. Jakob Park in Basel, which is a place we've been numerous times before, and where the crowd are right on top of the pitch and can be fairly boisterous. This is a town that is used to drawing in. The last few games for Servette have been like 7,000, 4,000. This is a 30,000 seater stadium. They already sold 20,000 tickets. There is a sense that if things aren't going well at the start, it's not necessarily that they might get angry with the home side. They might just kind of lose interest. Yeah.
Geneva's too rich a city to care about football too much. Dunphy's in the papers today, and he says actually he's got a lot of very good points about how crap our midfield was and how we gave the ball away and all the things you would expect. And anyway, but he's also making the case that we should ape Sheffield United and have 3 at the back, and that actually that might be a way of getting more of our better players further up, that actually you'd be relying on your 2 wing backs, who are good footballers in our case, to actually be in possession of the ball, and actually then John Egan would be the player bringing the ball out from centre back and stepping into midfield. And look, I mean, crazier ideas have happened.
It's not the worst idea in the world. They, to a degree, were doing that on Saturday. I mean, Glenn Whelan was playing the ball. Like they were splitting the centre backs, and Glenn Whelan was dropping out, and Glenn Whelan was the man receiving the ball from Darren Randolph more often than not.
Yeah.
The only difference is that Seamus Coleman and Matt Doherty, as they weren't making the same kind of runs that you'd expect a 3-4-3 formation to actually do. Coleman did once or twice. I think Doherty only had one in the first half and looked pretty. I don't want to say he looked out of his depth, but he didn't look like he was the player he is at Wolves, playing on the left-hand side of the defence. Ennis Stevens coming in might change that, and Ennis Stevens, as Dunphy alludes to, would be used to playing that system. I don't know whether McCarthy has enough faith in his players to do something like that away from home at this stage in the group.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's probably not going to happen. But it would take the wingers out of the team, and it would give you an opportunity to just have more ball players who might be able to keep the ball a little bit. Look, it's obviously not going to happen at this stage. It might happen for a tournament. If we make it there at this stage, it looks like a route to the playoffs is more likely than not, given the way the group has gone, right?
Yeah, at the moment, yeah. But, I still have this lingering suspicion in the back of my head. They talked a lot on Saturday about how a point was a good result and that they will take a lot from this game, yada, yada, yada. I think Saturday would be a kick up the arse to this team. And I think that knowing that a win will actually get us through tomorrow night, I think they could actually well go and do it, because there's a lot about this Swiss side that is decent. There's a lot about this Swiss side that's pretty damn flaky, and Vladimir Pekovic has kind of alluded to that in his post-match comments. There's been far too many rallying cries from their point of view to suggest that they're not in a bit of a crisis themselves. I think we could definitely tomorrow night go and do a job and possibly get 3 points and qualify for the Euros with a game to spare.
All right.
I'm hopeful, Ger. I'm hopeful.
Okay, on that note, Richie, good stuff. Thanks a million.